I am Caleb Webster Alt. This is for FTE-217 week 6 video assignment. The date is 1/8/2025. For this week's assignment, we will be going off of week 6 and week 7 lecture. So to begin, let's start off with the firearm. I also want to articulate that there are going to be 5 parts to this video. The video requirement should not exceed 5 minutes. I probably will exceed it like I normally do. But to begin, let's go about making this a safe firearm. As you can see, I don't have a magazine in, so all we got to do, rack that slide a couple times, or the bolt, I mean, and check the chamber, magazine well, and bore, and they are all clear. So we have a safe gun. And then place it on safe, because why not, for safe practice. So for part 1, I'm going to show you how to field strip your firearm, or at least an AR-15 platform. So you're going to push your takedown pins out. I don't have any nails at all, so this is a little harder for me. You can then take your bolt carrier group out, set that down, and you also have your charging handle. You don't necessarily need to take that out, but you can. We will leave it in for now. Let me set this over here. Okay, so you're then going to use something, anything. I have a broken pin punch that's got this weird angle to it now. So you take it and you have this pin. That's what holds your firing pin in. So you're just going to slide that out very gently. Keep in mind, this is metal. You don't want to normally take your guns apart with metal pieces. I'm being very careful, so just keep that in mind. I like to use my thumb as a backing as I pull it out so that it don't spring out at me. So, pin. And then your firing pin will fall out. Then you got to focus on your bolt. So you push this bolt to the locked position. That'll allow you access to your cam pin. You can then rotate your cam pin and pull that right out. So, and then that allows you to slide the bolt out. So then you can clean all your major components, put it all back together, and you got a clean and lubricated bolt carrier group. So, how to go about assembling it again real quick. It's just in reverse. Bolt, cam pin, rotate cam pin into position, take your firing pin. I go from the bottom in, take that cotter pin, or firing pin, and push it into place. So that is how you go about field stripping your firearm. Very quick, easy process. No rocket science involved. So close it up, push that pin back in, you're ready to go. So now, for part 2, it says directed by lecture material and anything else you may find using outside resources. You will identify additional work that you would like to do to your firearm. Then, using your firearm as an example piece, you will articulate and show how this would actually improve the performance, aesthetics, etc. of your firearm. So, I'm not quite yet into accurizing an AR-15 platform or any other firearm for that matter. I am definitely going to delve more into accurizing firearms, but I'd like to do that on my own time. I'd like to have, quality time thinking and doing all of that. But stuff that I would like to change on this gun to increase its performance are things discussed in week 6 and 7 lectures, such as enlarged takedown pins. I got spark plugs and all kinds of things. Bear with me. Enlarged takedown pins, anti-walk pins for your fire control group. I think that is awesome. I'm an AK-47 guy, so for my fire control group, I cannot, for whatever reason, I can't remember what the part is, but Kyber Customs, they're a great company. They sell awesome AK-47 parts. They sell a little part that goes into your AK fire control group, and it makes sure your pins don't walk out. That's awesome. It's an easy little $5 upgrade or something. You put it in, and it's like an anti-walk pin setup. Super easy to install, though, right? For an AR-15, from the pictures that I've seen on the week 6 and 7 lecture, the anti-walk pins, it actually looks like the bottom one for your trigger goes in, and then the top one is threaded into position. So I'm assuming you'd have to use a tap and all that, but I wouldn't think it is too hard of a procedure to get done, and I think it would actually be a very good upgrade for an AR-15. So I like the idea of that. Anti-walk pins, awesome stuff, man. The safety mechanism. There are different safety mechanisms out there that have a different throw, I guess you could call it. You know, it's just too much range of motion, and you can shorten that up by buying an aftermarket safety mechanism. So I would definitely probably do that. I like it. I like the idea of being able to reach my safety and have a comfortable grip of my firearm still. With my AK, I bought a Kyber Customs upgraded safety lever because my hands are small, and I'd have to literally take my, on an AR you have a full grip, but on an AK I'd have to rotate my hand forward and pop the safety on or off, and that's silly. So I got an upgraded one where I could keep the majority of my hand on the grip itself and just flick it right here, up and down, up and down. Aftermarket safety mechanisms are awesome when they work good. You don't want to get an aftermarket safety and have it make your firearm unsafe. So just keep that in mind. Also, other things, I have on very cheap iron sights right now. I got these from Dunham's, which is just a sporting goods store. I would like to upgrade, but this is just what I can afford right now. And a gun without iron sights is useless, so I had to get them. But things like that, just very simple, minor improvements on the gun could definitely increase its performance for the user, at least. You could utilize this firearm in a much more fast manner, I guess, and being safe at it as well. So for part 3, using outside resources, compare several aftermarket trigger systems for the AR and articulate how these are advertised to improve trigger performance. Do you agree with these arguments? Why or why not? So yeah, there are things like Geisley triggers, Timney triggers that are drop-in, and they have increased performance per se. I have no experience with those. I've only shot with military spec triggers, so I can't say if they will increase the performance of the rifle or not. But from what I've researched and watched and seen and understood, yes, a drop-in trigger that is performance enhanced and is ready for tournament shooting, I guess, yeah, it will increase the performance of your firearm to a certain extent. If you're not a good shooter, if you don't have enough practice with the trigger, you probably won't be very good with it. You won't notice a increase in performance on the rifle until you actually get enough practice with it. But inherently, yes, a drop-in trigger can increase your performance on an AR-15. So for part 4, articulate whether or not you plan to dimple your barrel for the gas block and explain your reasoning. This is a DPMS Panther Arms kit. I received this barrel that you see here pre-dimpled. So I thought that was kind of cool. And this being my first AR build ever, I was worried about gas block alignment. So worried to the point that I came up with this little idea to ensure gas block alignment so that I could feel for it. is I would take a stainless steel rod, and you take a pair of pliers, and you just make sure the rod's straight to begin with. It's not, but just, I would take the pliers and get a little bit in there, and then make a little 90-degree bend. And with that little 90-degree bend or whatever, you can go into the gas block and up into that recess into the hole, and you can feel if that tube is aligned properly. So that's what I did. I just felt, and I was like, okay, you know, so everything's gonna match up properly if I do it correctly. So that's what I did. I just used this to test, are they aligned? You know, I wanted to feel if those two holes are aligned. But the dimple in the barrel is what actually helped. I'm pretty mechanically inclined. I pay attention to things, you know, like while I'm working on stuff, I take mental note of how something feels. And when I was installing the gas block onto the barrel, I could most definitely feel for that bolt, or yeah, for the bolt recess. When I was installing the bolt, you can feel it. You know, it's apparent, and it does help gas block alignment. So if I were to get more practice actually putting a dimple on a barrel, yes, I would do it. It's smart. But if you remove too much material, you are now compromising the integrity of the barrel. So that's something you got to keep in mind, especially as a beginner. You could mess something up, and then you're out like $200-300, however much the barrel cost, and that's a pain. So yeah, I think barrel dimpling is pretty smart. It's a great technique, really good idea. As long as it's utilized correctly and done properly, it's pretty smart. So for part 5, it says to perform a drop test as specified in the lecture for this course. For this course, for this lecture, I mean, I normally download my my lectures onto a PDF file. So normally when you have the lecture, like the link directly to STI, it has videos on that file, like YouTube videos, to have like video descriptions of what they're doing, I guess. I would assume that it may have a video, but there's no video on a downloaded file form. But how I would perform a drop test is, first, make sure that the firearm is cocked, cycled, and then place it on safe. I'm going to back my chair up, and then I'm going to take it, make sure the muzzle's pointed off away from you and anybody else, even though there's no round in the chamber. This is a safe firearm. This is just for demonstration and for safety purposes. I would give the stock a good thud on the ground a couple times, so we'll do that. And then we'll check. So far, so good, right? Safety mechanism is working. Now let's take the safety off and see if it fires. Awesome. So that means the drop test worked. I'll just show that again. You just cycle it, make sure the gun's on safe, give the gun some taps, man, and then test it. Take your safety off. Safety mechanism works. So you can do more aggressive drop tests. I've seen people straight up just throw their guns, you know, just for the fun of it. You can hold it up, you know, 4 to 5 feet off the ground and just straight up drop it on the ground. As long as it's your firearm and you don't care about nicks and marks and scratches and stuff, great. That's a even better drop test. But just for demonstration, if you're going to be performing work on a customer's gun, you don't want to just be tossing it on the ground as if you don't care about it. So to just give the stock some good thuds on the ground, that'll tell you if your safety mechanism is going to work or not and slip. So that was the last part to this video. Let's just quickly recap over everything. So for part 1, I showed you how to field strip your firearm, which is technically just the bolt carrier group. For part 2, we went over additional things, attachments that I'd like to do on this firearm to increase its performance. Such things like enlarged takedown pins, a aftermarket safety mechanism, or anti-walk fire control group pins. I think that's a great upgrade. So for part 3, use outside resources. We talked about trigger mechanisms, and if they actually provide aftermarket drop-ins, if they actually provide your firearm with increased performance. For part 4, we went over dimpling on the barrel for gas block alignment. And for part 5, we did a drop test. So that's everything for week 6 assignment. And yeah, so thank you very much. Have a nice day.